everyone. You're obviously confused and aroused.
Then where are we now? Do you have idiots on your planet?
It's me, Slurmcast, remember from high school?
Hello, you're listening to the Slurmcast, a podcast for no reason. Today we will be discussing Futurama Season 2, Episode 2, Brannigan Begin Again, with your hosts, Tommy Roulette,
How's it going?
Pete Woodward,
That's me.
and I'm Rick Horchie. Joining us today is our special guest, Bill Squire. How you doing?
I'm great.
Ye-
I'm extremely excited about this. I'm a huge Futurama fan, and this is one of my favorite episodes.
We're excited to have a legitimate guest on the show. Everybody else is just people we know
Aw.
that
I
kind of
do
like the
have
show.
I do have business cards that say legitimate guest.
Beautiful.
Glad I didn't print those up for no reason.
Oh, man. There goes half of my friends. Thanks, Pete.
That's all right. We already sort of alienated them on the prior episodes. So, what did you guys think of this?
Well, it's a solid episode. I actually wanted to start off with something else. Usually, at some point during the podcast, we usually know, at least to some degree. Usually, I do. Whoever our guest is, and we just met 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I usually have an idea or a very good idea of what their relationship is with the show, and where they came into it and why they like it so much. So I guess a series of a couple questions like that. So it's 1999. The show comes out. Where were you in the world, and were you watching it right away, or did you come into it later?
I was incredibly excited about the show coming on. I remember reading in like magazines and I mean a huge Simpsons fan growing up. So
Yep.
Futurama was obviously, if you're a Simpsons fan, you should probably watch Futurama.
Yeah.
So I remember talking with some of my friends, and the one thing from the first, like I was a senior in high school, and my one friend Adam Wagner and I thought the funniest thing from the first season was when Leela goes, "Bender, you're blind, stinking sober," and I didn't even really understand that as like an 18, 17-year-old
Yeah.
Mormon kid, but I still thought it was hilarious. Just that whole juxtaposition and just the kind of reverse humor that they would use on the show just made me immediately fall in love with it.
Yeah.
So I watched it as best I could because it was on such a terrible time slot.
And it kept getting moved around.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing. I was a junior in high school, so about the same, same experience. Same thing. Huge Simpsons fan, and there's so many shows that, have their or it's not a spin-off, but where there's a creator of something that everybody
Yeah.
already loves, does something else, and a lot of times that hasn't worked out. We remember the ones that worked. We remember the King of the Hill and Daria and I don't know, etc. But Futurama lasted, went away, came back, whatever. But you're a huge fan. What was it about the show? Like you just mentioned that joke. Could you sum up like what made you stay? Like what
I don't think you've ever gotten this philosophical about this
Yeah,
show.
okay.
In, like
I thought
15
that's what I did
episodes,
for
you're
an
trying to
hour
get
every
deep.
week. I thought
No,
that-
it's mostly stammers and swears that Tom bleeps out.
Oh, we have
Half
to
of
bleep
them.
them out?
No,
I
just some of them.
Just some
I
of them are
like
fun.
bleeping them out.
Okay, that's fun.
It's kind of
Um,
funnier if you just do some.
I think what hooked me on the show was once it got a little further along, and I got the DVDs when they all came out.
yeah.
And so once I had the DVDs, I just started rewatching them again and again, and then I watched.
And
them
that was
with the-
before like we could stream a million
Stream
things.
them,
You would
yeah.
buy like a few. You could afford to buy like a few shows you like,
Yeah.
and you would just watch them. The Futurama, like we kind of a thing where like Tom has seen every episode 10 million times each.
And
I've
for
seen,
as big as a fan I am, I don't own any of the DVDs. It's all I rely on Netflix. And I thought today,
what about before that? You had roommates that had the DVDs.
Right.
That's pretty much.
but now I thought about it today because my Netflix stopped working like right before I came up here. I just wanted to watch the episode again.
And you're like, oh yeah.
and then I'm like, what if they just like Netflix takes it off, and it's not there anymore because they do that all the
Suicide.
time.
We will be so
Like,
fucked.
It'd be a
and we're not
sad,
done
sad
yet.
Day.
We're gonna have to schedule the DVDs that you have, and we're gonna have to pass them around.
Welcome
No,
to the
they're-
Slurmcast,
they're
a
Sean and
podcast about
Kristen's.
Gilmore Girls.
I could probably find. You could probably find them on Amazon pretty cheap.
No, yeah, they're I think they're like $2 an episode or whatever.
You know, before they go off Netflix, you should probably just go up to the exchange and get them while they're still going to be cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it comes
Oh,
off
wait,
Netflix,
yeah.
then the price is going to go
Yeah.
up. But watching the DVDs again and again and watching the commentary and seeing how much they put into this show and how they were dicked over by the network.
Yeah.
Like that just made me fall in love with it even more than I already just enjoy the humor and the characters and the overall silliness tied in with sci-fi adventures. And then there's the episodes where there's a lot of heart. Like,
Were you somebody that was
it's a
really
great
into
show.
a lot of the sci-fi references and the because that's a huge part of the show.
Like, yeah,
The
were you
Simpsons
into,
was like a
like-
general, here's a family, whatever. And they had moments where they could do that, like Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, I was
like that,
never. I mean, more like Star Wars and a little bit Battlestar Galactica,
Okay.
but more like Star Trek. I was very aware of it. So whenever they
Okay.
were making a Star Trek joke,
it's not lost on you.
I was not. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
not lost, and I got the context of it. And there's so many episodes that have so many jokes, and that's again one of the reasons I love it because there's so many layers.
Yeah.
Where as I go back and watch things again and again, they get even funnier. And now as some of these episodes are starting to mirror things that are happening in our society,
Yes.
or like the whole Zap Brannigan Trump
Yeah.
quotes thing, which is amazing.
It
makes it even
fantastic.
funnier. So I'm just a huge fan of the show. I think the writing's incredibly tight. I think they just really put a lot into it, and were just ignored by
Everybody.
people because it was so different. And
Yeah.
literally, I mean, it's a show about the future, but it was ahead of its time.
Mhm.
We've had a few guests, some of our close friends that are like huge fans that because of the way the network handled the show, especially the first few years, before it came back, kind of didn't come into it till later, like would catch it on reruns and then bought the DVDs or whatever. It's funny going over these episodes and like dissecting them the last couple months. I didn't realize how much, like we were looking at a lot of the technology stuff, but we didn't notice until, like we kind of were already aware of that. Like it was something we said in the beginning.
It's almost like the technology that they predicted, or at least in a joking way, is really, really dated and old. But some of the social issues and stuff that
That's
come
what it-
up
yeah.
are like really
It's like,
oh,
dead
yeah.
on.
Yeah, where they're like watching
The
some
VCR
version of a
plus plus.
VHS. Yeah, like something like that. But
But like you said, the stuff that's going on now, it's like, oh, that's a really poignant.
Like on Fear of a Bot Planet, where Bender became the demagogue that was like, kill all human. I mean, it was a total Trump thing.
yeah.
I mean, that's probably an old,
So, like,
I mean, Trump can be applied to so many different situations
Yeah.
anyway. Because I mean, even when Nixon
Yeah.
runs for president again, it's all.
Oh, and that episode's coming
I
up.
think
This
that's-
is the
that's
first
coming up
Nixon
in the next
episode.
couple
Like,
weeks.
I think that's the next one.
yeah.
so when we reached out, you actually requested this specific episode. So
Yes.
this is a very
This
dear
is
one to your heart?
This is an awesome episode, and it's. I think we've seen Brannigan a few times at this point. We're introduced to him when he slept with Leela, and
Yeah.
then we have
Which he brings up often.
always, especially in this episode.
Right.
And then there's the Titanic episode, and now this is where you really get a sense of how just ridiculous this guy is.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of the whole episode is how he is just fed up and cannot stand the neutral planet. Like just like he feel like, because what it comes down to is he doesn't understand what neutral means.
Right.
So he just is like, I can't.
Better
can't
dead
stand him.
than neutral.
Yep.
It's it really I got some pretty strong feelings about Zap after this one, and it almost makes me feel bad because we had our friend Eric on a few episodes ago. He's a huge Zap Brannigan fan. My takeaway at the end of this was like, I really don't like him. Like the way you guys feel about Bender.
Who, Eric Kaplan?
No.
Oh.
I like
Zap
I like
Brannigan.
Eric just fine. Zap Brannigan. It's like he's an embodiment of sort of arrogant privilege.
Oh yeah.
And it just everything he does starts to rub.
But this is
the
a great
wrong
episode
way.
because you get to finally see him taken down a peg where you have this character that showed up like 3 times now, and he has that, like he's always that image of
Yeah.
being the
But it
the
doesn't.
captain.
It doesn't
He's always
sink
the
in and
captain.
doesn't
He's always,
change.
he's always the captain. He's always the head honcho, and this is the first time that he's not.
He's actually
know,
gonna
in
be
that
responsible
role.
for one of his dumb decisions.
Yeah,
like so.
and he doesn't get
uh,
to that uniform is so important to him. That the being that guy is so important to him, and and it's funny, especially like right after it's stripped away, and he's like, "Time to start our life as civilians," and then he treats Kiff like that's an order, and
Well, that's I have some thoughts about that later on. I don't know if you've listened to any episodes so far.
I have not. I apologize.
You've
That's
got
okay.
a busy
Neither has
schedule.
anybody
It's
else.
fine. It's we try and go kind of in chronological order, just because at least if we don't talk about things in depth, it doesn't jump back and
Right.
forth. So like when they did in the cold open, they had the Star Wars chess. I liked how it was a callback.
Wait,
to,
I'm sorry. There was a what?
a cold open.
A cold open?
My point
new
was just
part.
that
I didn't
like,
check with the fact department.
It
I'm
seemed
sorry.
like a callback to when Hermes got carried off by the hologram. His hologram got carried off by the bird when they were at the
Burns ball
the
game?
Burns ball game.
Yeah.
And he got all beat up like when the chess pieces that were holograms started beating the crap out of everybody. I that was a nice, fun thing.
that was a Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. where
But then
they-
also showing that the holograms aren't just a hologram. There's actual like physical interaction that can happen.
Yeah. And it totally you don't expect that to happen. I mean, those are things that
Well,
that
that's
I
what makes
enjoy.
it so funny.
Exactly. That's a non sequitur I can get behind. Well,
But that horse had a knife. He had a hidden knife.
maybe it was a four-legged mimic or something. But the other thing that I've come to the conclusion that all of the public domain cartoons that they use on the Jumbotron, like 60% of them involve dancing pigs. I like that must have been all they watched in the 40s was just here's some pig cartoons dancing, and they're
Well, that
it
was
never
all
makes
you
any
needed,
sense.
man. Like, Booze was back, and you could just watch some dancing pigs.
It's the same cartoon that was used a few episodes ago. Actually, the one Sean Burns is on.
Oh,
the,
really? They're reusing it?
Mars University. It's the same cartoon. It's
Like a
pigs,
different
and,
scene
pigs in a
for it.
polka.
Oh,
Pigs in a polka.
okay,
And they just use different parts. It's free use.
okay. That's never stopped us from using unlicensed content.
Well, this episode has a brand new
You're right. Never mind.
recording of the
I didn't
theme
say that.
song.
We don't know Harry Fox Agency any money.
Change it enough.
So this is the first time we get introduced to dupe, which is just
It's
a
not
funny
though.
word.
We get told what it means.
Yeah,
but
well,
it
that's what I
shows
mean,
up
like,
in the is it the Titanic episode or
I thought it was the one where we meet Nibbler.
Yeah, they're trying to get through to get to the planet where they're trying to save all with the.
You're right.
four-legged
Well, that-
mimic.
you're
That's
right.
the first
'Cause
you hear it.
That's what I meant. This is the first time that we get introduced
An
to
explanation of it.
I'm backpedaling. I
That's one of those words that upside down, same way.
means
No, if you
It looks
you
the
flip it
same.
upside down, it says dupe either way.
oh
Not a
I
backwards
thought-
word, but an upside
Yeah,
down
so
word.
it's not poo.
have a
it's-
capital D when I wrote it down though. So,
So did I. But
But the way it's
Oh,
written
yeah.
on the show is with a lowercase d. Yeah.
Do any
Oh,
of
yeah.
you know where to get ceremonial sized giant prop scissors?
I don't probably Amazon.
True.
have you ever done that? Have you ever opened a
I have
store?
not. I have not got to cut the ribbon at a store opening. I don't think they do that enough.
Yeah, they don't.
I think it's something that was probably done like once a million years ago, and then people just started putting it in TV shows and movies.
Well, the mayor here does it sometimes for like restaurants and things, but it's not like big scissors. He's just got a pair of,
If you don't have the big
regular
scissors,
size.
then who cares?
yeah, exactly.
Like just cutting a ribbon without big scissors, it's like winning a giant if you like hitting a half court shot and not getting a big check. Like you want the big check too.
Yeah,
like you want the
exactly.
$50,000 or whatever else you get, but you also want the big fake check.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
makes it worth it.
I've always wanted to do the first dig in like a building site.
with
where
like
it's
the fresh
groundbreaking?
golden shovel or whatever,
Yes. Yeah.
like the pristine, never used shovel.
My fancy hard hat that it's the only time I'll ever wear that.
Just do it in like your neighbor's yard or something.
In a business suit.
Yeah, that's how I did. Yeah.
What are you
Hey,
doing?
he really
breaking
helped.
ground.
They made a reference to Star Trek in this, and as a
When you explain,
Futurama fans, we know that that is a forbidden word that comes
Oh,
later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that
I-
doesn't come till later. So
But it's always been like they explained that years
Yeah,
ago.
that-
Yet
yeah.
Hermes explains that it's. But maybe
well, I guess in private, it's not like it's on.
Yeah.
it's not in a media
they
form
weren't
or whatever.
Yeah, in the video store.
Just the reason I asked about the scissors is they do appear to be pretty rare, And that might explain why the professor was like way more concerned about the scissors getting damaged than any harm that might come to the crew in trying to deliver them, which seems in keeping with Farnsworth's, character. But he's just like, you don't want to damage the scissors.
Mm-hmm. And don't run with them.
Yeah.
I mean, as an owner of a company, you realize that your employees are disposable. The quality of
he
your
seems
product
to have
is
like
not.
backup people in the wings.
Oh, yeah.
like at all times.
Doesn't everyone? I have 2 people just standing outside, just waiting to come in here and replace both of you.
My neighbors might call the cops like they did on you guys the first time you came over.
I make them dress like raccoons.
Oh shit.
They're fine.
On a side note, as I was walking here, you said the second house, and then I was like, you know what? I think there was more to that, and I was glad that I checked because it's the second house after the tracks. And so I almost walked into a complete stranger's house.
I bet they would have been really excited.
How
Hi,
weird.
I'm Bill Squire from WMMS.
Is Pete here?
Which
Here to talk
podcast-
about cartoons? And they have a son named Pete.
What if you walked in and they were doing the Gilmore Girls podcast?
Oh,
Like,
I
oh,
listened
shit.
to you.
I'm gonna be like an hour late, guys.
Oh, imagine the banter on that
there is a
podcast.
Gilmore Girls podcast. It's called Gilmore Guys. I can't pronounce the guy's name that hosts it, and he's
Oh,
pretty
you're
funny,
serious?
but yeah, there is.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
There's got to be a podcast for everything. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Rule 34 of podcasts.
Yeah, there's like like 8 Futurama podcasts, but
none of them existed when we got started.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
funny how it all popped up at the same time.
well, we're trendsetters, trailblazers.
Something like that. I don't think I made my typical Fry is so dumb note for this, but I like that his mind was just completely blown by muffins. Like he walks into a room full of, did he say 1,000 aliens or 1,000,000 aliens? And he's like, oh, and there's muffins on the table. And like, I mean, he's clearly
Like a reception table with muffins.
Yeah.
Is just as exciting as seeing all these different species.
Almost more
Because-
so. He was
yeah.
almost more excited by the muffins. My favorite thing the thing that like Futurama came out, and I'm like huge Simpsons fan, and there's a lot of stuff I loved about the Simpsons. There's like certain things that I like, elements of it that I like more, humor elements. And when Futurama came out, like Fry, like his dumb guy Fry moments, that's like my I'll wait a whole episode, like I'll watch it, I'll wade through like a subpar Futurama episode for like that one Fry line, like that Yogi Berra just like bad,
Yeah.
And that's like this one it was peppered with some good dumb
Yeah.
Fry lines.
No,
like,
I mean, I think in the last few episodes, it has become a lot more consistent joke-wise, which, those first 9 or 10, it was really a lot more hit or miss.
Yeah, they were trying to still figure out all the characters exactly. One of my favorite Fry dumb lines is in, and I guess it's not even just a dumb one, but just like a little Fry aside in the one where they go to Zoidberg's planet, and Leela's lecturing them about being lazy, and she's like, Fry, you're covered in bed sores. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'm not covered.
That was just a couple episodes ago. And that's really, that kind of sums it up. Like, he complains about having this shit life back in 1999, but he was probably just an awful piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, oh,
Like,
yeah.
The whole Slurm episode, the where he wins the prize and he's just chugging Slurm
Teeth falling out.
constantly. It just he is that 25-year-old pizza boy.
yeah.
Like they're like
he's the everyman in the show. It's the, hey, what if you got transported 1,000 years into the future and that's where you were. I mean, definitely a lot dumber than most people, way below average or whatever, but still just that, like, here's we're watching it through his eyes. He's experiencing this,
But then I'll have those moments of idiot savant where you're just like, how, I love Symposia. You're like, how did that even come out of his mouth? Like, was that an accident or, he has like that hidden genius that comes from being so dumb it sort of loops back around. Like the
especially in
jerk.
later episodes when he when you
becomes a very important
yeah.
cog in the universe existing.
Oh yeah, they
So-
keep hinting at that.
Yeah.
I like.
We have this thing where it's the perfect like sedimentary like graph of the Earth where it's like Tom is
Tom's a really
Sedimentary.
big fan.
Tom's
Yeah.
a huge fan.
Porchy's a
I'm
really
like
big
a medium,
fan,
No, I'm
and
like
I
a-
like
I'm
the
like a
show
medium
just
one,
fine, but
like-
haven't watched it for a really long time.
Like,
so I'm basically new to it.
Gotcha.
I would. Well, all right. I wouldn't say medium. I'd say Pete's a medium fan. I'm a big fan, and then Tom is ridiculous.
He's the core.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Netflix to send me a message and be like, "You win the award for watching Futurama the most times in a row ever."
I might be near there because I'll turn it on when I go to sleep. And
Yes,
it'll just-
that's
nice.
exactly what I
So-
do. Yes.
Yeah.
If I'm doing
you
something, I
guys
just put it on.
And
And then, yeah.
one of our early guests, John Kellerman.
If you ever have company over, company,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever play it for them to try and make them like it?
No, I don't play it to make them like it. I either play it to see if they do like it or if I need them to leave.
That's Tom's move
Yeah.
too.
Like if they want to stick around and watch an episode of Futurama, I'm like, okay, this is someone that might get a second date. But if they're like, oh, you watch cartoons, I'm like, well, I had a wonderful time.
Got to get up real
But
early
now
tomorrow.
you're getting to know the real Bill, and you got to go.
But that hatred of neutrality that you brought up, like that comes out right away as
Right
soon as
away,
you start talking
yeah.
about it, and he's just it's so appropriate to what the hell is going on right now, because it's like just this blind idiocy.
Mm-hmm.
See, no, it's different. I hate it. I don't understand it, and I hate it.
And what's really to point out how you dislike Brannigan so much as just if he were an actual person.
Yes.
He's at this banquet where he is the honored guest who is doing the ribbon cutting. So all he has to do is enjoy himself. He could get drunk and just relax and then go up and cut the thing and let everybody fawn over him. But Leela shows up. She's delivering the scissors, and now he feels like he's got to prove something.
Right.
And to prove something, he takes him off on this tangent. They end up on the ship.
Because he
that,
like
if it wasn't Zap Brannigan, that would have felt like a poor vehicle for moving the story along. Of like him, like, oh, all of a sudden he's turning on her and like, but it's like, no, that makes perfect sense for
I
for
love
his
the
character.
whole rock paper scissors bit that he was doing,
Oh,
like
yes.
trying to figure out rock paper beats
And bring me
scissors or
some
whatever.
paper.
Bring me some paper. Yes, that's a great line.
were they
What I actually didn't get to watch this episode. It just wasn't in the rotation. Like I watched it like 2 weeks ago, but I've watched pretty much the whole thing all the way through since then. So what took him all the way up to arresting Leela? Was it just the fact that she had scissors and
The yarn
was
people.
gonna the
He
yarn
was-
people
yeah,
get
yeah.
LR4?
She's a
Okay,
threat
that's what
to
I
the
thought.
yarn
Yeah.
people. And
And I love how they're like, all right, we need something that would make Leela a threat. And they're just like, how about if people are made of yarn? And they're like, perfect.
They were
like just sitting
adorable.
there
The
eating
yarn people
spaghetti
look
or
great.
something.
Yeah.
So was the woman in charge of the council? Was she the same alien race as Kif?
Same race.
Do
Yeah.
they address her? Or you just infer that from?
I think you infer that, but then she comes back in later episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, she does. Okay,
She has a many jobs in the series of Futurama.
I'll allow it.
it's kind of like a Hillary Clinton who's been a first lady and a secretary of state and a
Yeah,
senator.
kind
and
of,
all that.
kind
So
of.
she's just a random, go getter.
Yes. Also, when she was announcing Zap, talking about his latest endeavor about carpet bombing, I couldn't figure out what the name of the planet
Eden
was.
7.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He was being honored for the carpet bombing of Eden 7, which sounds perfect for him. Like he sends all the people in to kill the killbots till they get to their maximum kill number, and then here's this what we can assume based on all the other names of every other planet is this perfect paradise, and he just levels it for no apparent reason.
But that's the thing. Every battle that is ever referenced, when he's introduced by somebody, just reminds me of like every like haircut boss I ever had that you knew, like gave off confidence and got to a certain role and was just like, I'm in charge, and all these like softball things were lobbed at them all the time, like tasks that
I was
And
just
I-
talking with someone today. There's a guy I used to work with who has consistently like failed. Well, I used to work with him.
like Homer in the
No, he's
Frank
like
Grimes
failed
episode.
his way up to like senior levels of management. At very like he'll just bounce around, just like that guy can't even keep porn viruses from getting installed on his computer. How is he now in charge of this?
Zap, Bean Zap puts the laser all the way to what was it? Hyper.
Oh,
Did you-
it was stun, kill. This is that
Stun,
thing I was telling
yeah.
you about falling asleep while I was trying to take notes on this. I have notes for the beginning and notes for like the third act, and then in the
It was
middle
like
would
Hyper
just be,
Death
like,
Ray or something. Like
It was
that.
it was hyper internet.
And
you
he's just
guys-
trying to cut the ribbon and slices the whole satellite.
The
thing.
whole space station that they were dedicating.
Yeah.
He cuts it in half, and then it cuts to them with Zap on trial at the original, the headquarters that they had just gotten rid of
Yeah.
in New Jersey, which is so great.
I didn't catch that, so it must have been down the street from Robot Hell.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like it says like original Dupe headquarters in like the caption, and then it's like something New Jersey or whatever. It
Hackensack or
yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was also a Star Trek reference.
The Hyper Chicken Lawyer.
No, when they panned back on the space station, they did kind of a mock Deep Space Nine theme song.
Did they? Do
Yeah.
you think they cleared that?
No, it was a mock. It was a
It was just it sounded kind of
Like
like
different
yeah,
enough.
got it,
Different
yeah.
enough.
Different
Yeah.
enough.
I've been
Like this
involved
thing
in
that Tom wrote.
Tom's real
Well-
familiar with different enough now.
You changed just enough.
We asked. I don't remember what episode it was recently, but we had someone ask us who we'd like to see as a spin-off character. And, initially I was definitely up for Zoidberg, but I think I might like to see a Hyper Chicken Lawyer, like Matlock show. I think that could get real weird.
I think that'd be good, or just a show about the family of the Waterfall family.
Which, from Trisol?
What
Or,
is these there's a whole one of the lawyers defends when Zoidberg eats the flag in a later episode.
Okay.
There's a lawyer, and then he's got like other like hippie kind
He's
of
he wants a satanic wedding, and
the satanic wedding. He's a polygamist.
Yeah.
But then like his daughter's in an episode, or like another relative. She's in the Yonder one, the Wild Green
oh
Yonder.
yeah.
Oh
And
yes,
then-
yeah.
And then there's another one, the guy that runs the penguin sanctuary when they're trying to protest the oil tanker going through. That's another waterfall. So like they're an
Oh yeah,
interesting family.
yeah.
to
You're
me.
right. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Okay, I totally forgot that was his name.
That's like a huge connection throughout the series. That would be a really cool.
Super
Yeah.
Deep Cup, Bill.
Yeah, and then if it wasn't them, I would be down for just a Zap Brannigan show or a Robot Devil.
Didn't one of you guys say Robot Devil
What for
for a spin-off?
I might have. I love the robot. Devil.
No.
I do too.
So Zap seemed like the obvious one that the
Do
guy
you-
who asked us the question thought Zap, but I think that might turn out like Joey as the spinoff from Friends, where you have the guy who's that dumb and
Yeah.
that sort of unself-aware that can wear pretty thin if that's the main focus.
where
of the
he wouldn't
show.
work as the protagonist or whatever because he's not.
It's
Well, but
just-
you know what though?
And
That's the thing.
It's
They're-
all how they do it. If they did it like Eastbound and Down, where
yeah, there's shows
Okay.
where
they can
where
make that work.
You can like start to show different levels of this like dumb character, and you're like, oh, there's more to him.
That's
and, whatever.
what if we could get one like a live action with Danny McBride playing Zap Brannigan?
Are you
amazing.
starting to hate Zap Brannigan because subconsciously you're just getting more and more sad that Phil Hartman didn't do the voice? Do you
Stop.
think that's
Don't get me started.
That's not who it
Don't-
is.
What?
Zap Brannigan is not Phil Hartman.
No, I know. I have them very tightly related in my head, and every time he comes on, I miss Bill Hartman incredibly. But like
that makes sense.
that's so I didn't even think about that angle of like a Kenny Powers sort of show where that could actually be really entertaining because that one it didn't really ever get old.
Yeah, I think with the Robot Devil though, you could have such a good like so many different characters coming into his existence as he's doing
like coming
devil
into Robot
things.
Hell? Yeah.
And he kind of gets to do these episodes. They're all one-offs.
It
'cause
could almost be
it's like
officey, where like
Like
he's
an
the boss,
anthology
you
show.
know, like
I was thinking more like a Quantum Leap kind of thing where he's got to do not set things right, but he's got to do his devil
Yeah.
job in these ridiculous situations.
maybe like set things wrong, like he's
Yeah,
got to
exactly.
somebody like
and it all winds up with a golden fiddle contest.
right.
So
But even the Office version would be funny too, where he's just going through mundane things in hell.
Yeah.
Like regular days there.
Didn't they?
There was like an Adult Swim, like 15-minute cartoon that did that.
Oh
Or
God,
something.
Lucy, daughter of the devil.
No, there was like a live action one.
But I like how then, aside from the fact that the hyper chicken lawyer is
One of
you know,
my
this
favorite characters.
Matlock-esque-
the
yeah,
Hyper Chicken
Matlock-esque
Lawyer,
character,
like-
but like when the judge calls it out about the incompetence of this hillbilly lawyer, like that's just it's crazy. You're an imbecile. You need to shut up. And he brings up the thing about or is it Zap that's who's questioning Leela where they confirm that her and Zap have gotten busy.
Zap is questioning Leela, and basically all he does is confirm that he had slept with Leela,
And it gets into the
and
court
that's
record.
why he shouldn't
But
be
then
prosecuted.
when Fry lets out the woo,
Do you think
I
that was
lost it.
was that very Springer time? And when do you remember when this aired? Was it 2000? It was
I
2000,
think
right?
they've done that before.
Any like sitcom, like
With a
laugh
live
track
studio
or
audience.
live studio audience
But
had like
you don't
the
feel like it's more
woo.
specific, like
No.
No, I don't think
No.
it's a Springer thing. I think it's way more
and the fact that he's by
reacting
himself.
to a TV moment in like a very
Because then Leela does it after.
studio audience kind of way.
But remember, and like The Simpsons did it. Like, remember when Married with Children? Like that was the thing. That was kind of the first show where there was those woos. Like, you know, do you feel like that turned into a thing where it's kind of on a lot of shows after that? And like that was
it
just
was.
a general
It has
reference
always
to like
been
that being a thing.
like anything, any live.
Really? Before,
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, I mean that goes back to the honeymooners.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Because if she got a line off, or there was like
Yeah.
anything that was even like the least bit sexual,
Yeah.
there would be like a
Oh, all right.
They just overdub a bunch of Paulins or
Yeah.
something. And
People used to not know how to react to when they saw things on TV, so they had to have people in the audience watching that to show them how to.
And
react.
later on in the 70s, they figured out you just shoot the television because Elvis Presley made that a thing. And you got really frustrated. You just pop one off. And that's
Show
why
ain't no
America's
good.
great. So when the jury leaves, they come back in. And that was a nice
Did you
sight
know-
gag where they just.
Did you notice that one of the
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Trisol people were one of the jury members?
I didn't know that it was a Trisol
Yes.
person. I got
and it
hung
was
up on
also
Glurmo.
one of the
One
Glurmo
of the
was in there.
Slurm, one of the slug guys.
But was that one of the slug guys?
It was
when he
one.
gets
It was
cut
one
in
They're a
half?
race of
Because he was
people.
cut in half, so it was one of the small.
Because the
Glurmos.
voice was still
was that a
like.
small one? Was it?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, he did the.
Oh yeah, he did do the small.
Oh,
that's funny.
hey.
And both the space lizard and the insectoid
Yeah, were
that
part
we're
of the
eating
jury,
was
yeah.
also part of the.
As Zap and Kiff leave, the squeaky shoes in the court was such a nice touch, like where it was just squeaking on the floor. I loved that because it was really like
awkward, sad, kind of.
and it's so like subtle, and you'd never see that on anything else. Like it was just like, okay, we have this whole sequence. What can we do to that? And then somebody just starts putting in the squeaks on the soundtrack. That was beautiful.
I feel like also during that whole trial, and then Zap got, found guilty. I bet Kiff was like, maybe I'm going to become a captain or something like that. And then
Well, that's why it's so great, because when he says, and also Kip did. Kip
Yeah.
did,"
So,
it was
throws him-
mostly
he
his
just-
idea.
Yeah, throws him under the bus.
The note I put in at that point was just Zap is the worst. Like I think that's the
Yeah.
point where I turned on him. I'm just like, you're such a piece of shit.
But
And
how did you, like, the whole idea behind Zap is that you've never been on his side. From the moment he shows up, he is an arrogant douche.
yeah.
So for him to, like, he never wins anyone over.
Nope.
It's only by reputation. And then once you actually meet him, you're like, oh, this guy's horrible.
I've met a couple.
and then in this episode too, there's no like redeeming, like, oh, we all had like a full house, like, oh, poor
No,
Zap
it's-
or whatever. It was just he
It's
sucks.
literally the way this one ends. Not to jump ahead too much, but
No,
is
yeah, it's fine.
just Leela being like, I just don't want him around
Yeah,
anymore.
him getting away with just being Zap Brannigan
Yeah.
again, you know.
No, I guess in small doses. This has been like, I think within 3 or 4 episodes, we have 2 with him where it hasn't quite worn off. Now, I mean, it's not to say that it isn't funny. It's just from episode 1, they've both been, Bender. We don't like Bender. He's too obvious.
Zap
He's blah, blah,
Brannigan
blah, blah.
gets
But, like,
funnier every episode, Pete.
okay, but he was sort of off-putting. I felt
But-
so bad for Kiff in this episode.
What does it say about you that you tried to just like Zap Brannigan? Like,
I didn't try to like him, but I I officially disliked him.
You know what it says about him? He's a Kif.
You are a Kif.
Totally codependent.
Does this have
Like
anything to do with the fact that your
100%
dad's
codependent.
name is Zap Woodward?
How did you know? He had that legally changed.
All makes sense now.
We both do look great in velour.
Leela walks in on Fry and Bender cleaning the spaceship, and they're doing the hose fight, and she says, "I've had to break up 3 hose fights." What was it? 2 of them.
2 with actual hoses.
That was.
I also love
I got to
all
know
the,
what
like,
that other one was because theoretically, who else in Planet Express? There'd be Hermes and the Professor.
I just figured she just meant the 2 of them. Like,
Yeah,
but
I think they were probably doing something
Any
similar.
of the buddy moments of Fry and Bender, just any of them where it's something like that and it ends with Bender going hee hee hee, like that's another thing I love about
When they do the montage,
the Midnight Cowboy.
that's what I was going to ask. Is that supposed to be a Midnight Cowboy
Absolutely.
thing?
Absolutely.
But with the flip of Zap being the pimp and Kif being the one, like
Yeah, yeah.
dancing monkey and stuff.
And that has one of our favorite characters in it, the Hattie McDougal.
Harry Nilsson.
No, Hattie McDougal. When she pulls up in the limo.
Oh yeah, and she doesn't even talk. She just like points at him.
Well,
It's
it's
just-
originally thought that Kif is going to be the one, or Zap is going to be the one, but then it ends up being Kif.
And, he
And
just-
then we
he
find
just
out
does
later
it.
like, yep,
that then we find out later that Kif is like super sexy to a lot of people, Amy, and just in general the Amazonians, and
Oh, that was back, jumping back. But when Fry was talking to the
Oh,
Amazonian,
when he was hitting on the.
That was-
that was the first time. That is so interesting.
yeah, we should go and get coffee or something. It was beautiful. Yeah. So at some point, when Zap finally breaks down, he says Leela is the only woman who loved him physically. So was he a virgin prior to Leela then? And all of that was just like bravado, where he had the whole sex palace in his ship when we were first introduced to him with the rotating bed and the naked statues and everything. Like, was that a big reveal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a thing where it's just like
It's a funny joke.
Yeah, you kind of assume that he probably maybe because she was just into him because he was a
Lonely captain, like her.
a war hero.
I thought she
a
already
war
disliked him.
hero. So it's okay. You can
Yeah.
use your Latin.
I think it was one of those things where they're just like, you know what? It'd be funny if Zap was a virgin the whole time. I don't know if they're going to actually they would ever get that into the backstory, but it does seem like he is a guy that could mess it up every time, and that's why
Oh, yeah.
he's
Yeah.
so into Leela is
Yeah.
because
She was the first.
That
she's
one.
the first one
Actually,
that actually
he-
fell for it.
He closed the deal and then tried
And
to
it's-
play
'Cause
Futurama
he does have
episodes
that
afterwards.
He does have that breakdown, and that's what makes her fall for him. It's not like he gets her with the champagne.
Yeah.
He gets her because he's just like, I'm so lonely, and she's lonely, and she's like, all right.
Right,
So,
yeah.
so
I
I
felt
guess,
like
yeah.
that was a big pity fuck, like that she was.
Yeah,
just
that's what it was.
I mean,
it
she was definitely lonely for sure, and
It was
like,
a
well, I
very
need this
sad.
Too, but,
It was probably a very
Yeah.
sad, intimate thing.
yeah.
Do you think one of them broke out in tears afterwards?
I bet both of them were crying during
Yeah.
the entire time.
When Leela cries, where did the tears come out?
Just it's one big giant drop.
Drop off over her nose?
Mhm.
I had no idea.
I don't know.
Maybe we'll see that later on.
She might cry. Yeah, she's.
Well, didn't she cry in the episode before with the Bender or with the?
Oh yeah, with Nibbler.
I don't know if they actually
Oh,
show any
yeah,
tears
yeah.
come out.
She
but
might.
I know
I
she
mean,
cried.
it might. I think it just like
think
bubbles up
probably-
underneath.
I love Hermes's, or is it just Hermes? His bluntness
Hermes,
when
and
he's
then the
like,
apostrophe
it's the
after.
green dude and the fat man, which you don't really. I mean, like Zap is sort of shown with the gut, but it's never really mentioned, and I like that where he's just
I like that his
oh.
gut is so prominent in this when he has that like.
It
When he
gets
doesn't
bigger
have the
and
girder.
bigger.
Yeah.
and he's just wearing the sweater around, and he's just
just
there.
comfortable.
Yeah.
I could have sworn I've never seen that robot before.
He's Bender, the lovable rascal.
His just asking about spankings and everything. I was watching it. It started getting uncomfortable
Yeah.
a little bit. Like that's really creepy.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with a little spanking?
There's nothing wrong.
It's
with
not
it.
anything-
But it's his enthusiasm and willingness to
I'll
accept
take the heat for
everyone
it.
else's
In like the
spankings.
innocence of Fry and Bender just being like, yeah, all right.
And that he'd also, like, if there was a situation where a space captain would punish the crew via spanking like that, and like he just assumes that, like,
Do you think he
well,
spanked
she's a
his
lady,
crew?
so yes, I think there was spankings doled out by Zap Brannigan for sure.
Oh my god! I bet it was just like a big frat house.
Oh yeah.
In fact, it really sounds like there's like I don't care. You just have to be loyal. You lie around and drink beer all day for all I care. Like that's
Right, and that's how it.
oh
So as the episode moves on, they have to take these pillows to a hotel, and I love when they like anytime they go to a planet, they park really far from anywhere they need
Yeah.
to be.
I don't like, and they don't land anywhere. It's not like it's like a place to land. They just land somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
But it's so far away from any time.
But is that like a tribute to Star Trek where all these planets from
I'm
far
sorry,
away?
what? Star Trek?
Yes, I'm saying it. when they land in like a random spot, that feels very Star Trek to me. Where anytime they go to a planet on Star Trek, it's not like they land at a space station. They just land on the
they're
planet.
trying
surface.
Oh,
to
yeah,
not
that's-
interfere
yeah.
with anything.
Yeah, that was a common Star Trek trope of like, oh, taking the shuttle down to
Yeah, so that's what I thought is why they do that, and also
yeah.
it
that was
helps
definitely
with
reference.
funny.
Where they have to travel, like
Yeah.
like with Trisol, where it's like now you've got to walk across this desert,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and see the water people.
Because if they park close, then there wouldn't be a cartoon or a story.
They'd be UPS
Why did I write down
with a robot with a magic chest cavity that can remove chilled beers
Which
from it at
none
any
of
given
this-
time.
He doesn't use his magic.
Yes, he
chest
does.
cav-
He pulls out refrigerated beers when they're sitting down in Zap's.
Is
dining
that
Okay.
room.
such a big deal?
That is legitimately physically possible to have 3 beers in his
compartment.
compartment.
Oh, is it? This is a recurring point of contention for us.
So you don't like the fact that he can fit anything and everything in there whenever he needs it?
well, much like Horchy's shorthand.
It's the future.
I know. I don't need to
1,000
rehash it
years
again.
into the
I've already
future.
gotten like a ton of shit about
they've
it.
broken the light speed barrier. Like I don't.
But I'll tell you my feelings about it off mic. I feel like it's magical, and that's where it breaks down for me.
The one point that I thought you would
I'll
have
tell you
wrote-
my feelings on Mike.
There's a
you're
shrink
wrong.
ray inside, and he can fit anything.
That works.
That's the best explanation I've heard so far,
There we
Bill.
go.
Thank
How
you.
is that how is that any better than?
it being like a TARDIS.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what?
Can you explain the physics of a TARDIS? No.
No, but even so, the TARDIS explanation was one that I proposed that was never ratified or
But-
verified.
That it doesn't need
You
to be
grew up a
ratified.
Mormon?
Yeah.
They have shrink rays. That's why we didn't think of it. It's part of the angel brought the golden tablets and a shrink ray. That was part of it, right?
Yeah, that's how nobody found him until Joseph Smith showed up.
Exactly.
I kind of want to know about this. I kind of want a little bit.
I'll send you to other podcasts.
There's so many questions, but it just comes out as how, why, and then like that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, my parents are Mormon, so I was Mormon, then I am not Mormon anymore.
That's just crazy enough to work.
There's a lot.
But you still wear that white shirt and that tie.
I know. Well,
It's
just a good look for me.
It does. You get sharper and sharper looking every time I see you, Bill.
Oh, thanks.
The interesting twist. This is really like the money shot in the episode. I felt was when Leela is genuinely grateful to Kif. He is so like he can't even
Dude,
believe.
that's one of
He's
my
like
favorite
you're
moments.
like
on
it's
the show.
genuine
like,
gratitude, and he's so like relieved and exhilarated that someone's just like, "You do a good job, and I really appreciate it." And it makes his whole day.
Did you guys identify with that at all? Like,
But
from
no,
any
but
parts
then
of
it
your life
immediately reveals the codependence of the whole relationship, where
yeah.
he can't
Which is
talk about
also
anything
great,
else
yeah.
but how fucked up Zap is
Yeah.
and all the awful shit he's done. And like, I've had
A marriage that
ex-wives
was like
and
that?
ex-in-laws that it was the same thing. Like, all of their family problems could be solved if they'd had like honest communication. Instead, they just bitch about each other behind everybody's backs, and it
Yes.
just festers and goes crazy. And that's like this same thing. Like,
Right,
it's-
because Brannigan has no idea that he is a bad captain.
no,
He has
Yeah.
no idea that Kif is unhappy.
Right.
Like it's just
He probably wouldn't care if he
no,
did.
it's not that he
but
would, but he would be shocked to hear Kif is displeased because he thinks Kif is his best friend and his most
Yeah.
loyal friend.
Yeah.
And Kif has no idea that. I don't know if I feel like this plays out in all the later episodes because Kif kind of becomes
A little more
definitely-
assertive.
Yeah.
I also love how Brannigan sells them on the loyalty thing with I didn't care if you drink all day in your underwear. And it's Bender, beer,
Yeah.
Fry, underwear?
And then when they commit the
mutiny
mutiny, like
happens.
Fry's got the beer and the underpants on, like immediately, just bam.
It's a mutiny, holds up the beer, pants are off.
And Leela is arrested because she was a captain who was at failure to prevent a mutiny.
Why did I write down hot, sexy female man?
I don't know.
No, what's that line? Zap's like,
It's,
even if it was what is he
he's,
say?
he's talking about Leela as the captain and like how you should obey the captain even if it's a hot, sexy
That's what-
female
yeah,
man.
Is and that, but to be once the mutiny happens and Kif is just like completely deflated immediately, he tries
Well,
to.
because he just got his satisfaction. at
Yeah.
time. But we also skipped over where they break the hover dolly, and it's one of my favorite lines where they're mad at Leela because she's making them carry the pillows, and Fry's just like, "Man, this sucks. We could have just we could have used the backup dolly,
By
broke
now
that,
and-
and gone home by now."
just
So
give
he's
it up.
He's not worried about accomplishing the mission. He just knows how it would have actually played out.
And they get hit by the high gravity
Well,
rain.
And
to
I love
pull
that
them off.
Fry's excited about it. Yeah, and then
My favorite line is
and it's a
in
good
that-
physical gag
in
when it
that
hits his tongue and
same
he goes down.
same thing where it's when they break the dolly and she comes out all mad and Bender's like, some breaking occurred and the dolly was involved. That's all we know.
And the high gravity hilarious in and of itself where they're all like crunching down and
Yeah.
Brannigan's
His-
girdle
the
breaks.
girdle.
And then he's like, Leela, does the company that makes your bra happen to make girdles?
So when I was watching this last night, that scene like I couldn't help but like noticing that. But I mean, but I've seen this episode a million times, and I knew that that line was coming up, and I just kept trying to figure out like, when I was first watching it, did that occur to me where I'm like, all right, as far as the physicality of everybody's
think
outfits.
You would think her boobs
I
would
mean,
just
like, yeah, that first
pop
time
out of her bra.
because that might be
Maybe
like
if
a
it was
random
Comedy
thought I
Central
would notice.
years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, did I have that random thought of like, well, wait a second, like his girdle, and then he said it, and it was
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
You know, like they acknowledged it.
I've always thought I should look into girdles here and there. This might be a nice accessory to have. Just, it's like,
That's a lost, fashion for all the. Speaking of like
Well,
the
it's
old
all
40s
Spanx now.
cartoons.
You don't need
Yeah,
I
well,
was just
you're
gonna
right.
say they've updated it.
But like,
Spanx now.
remember every old Bugs Bunny cartoon where like the shirt would come off Elmer Fudd or whatever, and he'd have a girdle on, or somebody would have a girdle on or whatever.
Sure.
And it was that thing of like, oh,
Then a
this
bunch of
guy's
pigs
wearing a
would dance
girdle, and it's-
around
Yeah,
for some reason.
Girdles
and-
lasted a lot longer in cartoons and television shows than they did
Probably
as
did
an
in
actual
reality, yeah.
piece of like fashionable.
Except for William
clothing.
Shatner. In fact,
What if
I didn't even
after all
realize
these
that,
years
like,
of friendship, I took off my shirt and
no,
I've been
I
wearing
think
a
that
girdle
might
the whole time,
be
and I
an
was like a
actual
heavy set-
Shatner reference.
Is
like
the
be-
girdle? Oh, I'm sure it is.
yeah, because
Oh, absolutely.
Does anybody
'Cause he
here know
did.
anything about Star Trek? That
Uh,
could confirm that.
Hold on, let me see if I have a friend.
check
that,
your
oh,
pocket
okay.
computer.
It's me. I'm my friend. I know. Yes, he did. There was that's the whole thing with he wore the
He had a nice girdle.
not on the show. It was in the movies.
oh, in the movies or probably on
Because
he
CJ
started
Hooker
older,
too.
yeah.
Because
He's,
after
uh,
the
In
show,
in the show, he was.
just-
Oh, ugh.
I know. He had that dad bod.
Hot 60 dad bod.
And he's all tan.
It was like a Charles
tan.
Atlas deal where it was
Yeah,
like
he had that 60s bod.
it might
where,
be
like,
muscular,
you didn't have
but
to
there's
have,
no
like,
definition.
Yeah, it was
at
just
all.
like, oh, that
It
guy.
was like
Nobody
he
was cut back then. They
It's
were
like
just
he was drawn by the Batman the animated series.
yeah.
Yeah, where
animators.
it's just like there's
There's
it's not
muscle.
pecs, but there's a chest.
Yes.
He's oiled up and bronzed real nice, and all that stuff would probably benefit me. Girdles and bronzer and
professional beach bully.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
If up here though, you could really only work like 3 months out of the year if you're a professional beach bully up in.
I think it's something
Cleveland.
where you're gonna have to travel to do that job anyway.
Yeah.
Like a clown or something, where you got to kind of move around.
Imagine
you could.
the blogs that'd be written about a professional beach bully,
Oh my God.
like just Jezebel.com.
It would explode.
Crazy.
It would
on you.
explode.
Yeah, that would be
But would
a-
they be
yeah.
for or against it?
I think there'd be both sides. It depends on the website. Like Slate, be like, look at this. This is a nice
The
thing.
think pieces would
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it would break the internet. You heard it here first, folks.
I feel like you could probably just live in Florida though. Like it's
all year long.
yeah, just and just kind of go.
Oh my God,
all the
but
way.
why?
But the saturation.
That's true. Oh yeah, that's true
It's
too.
very
I'd be like a
oversaturated.
It's all close enough.
famous
driving-wise
DJ
that, you know,
or a tattoo artist where I'd travel around to different beaches and
Yeah.
be a
Professional
guest
I
professional
mean,
beach bully.
really, I guess that's kind of what Jersey Shore was. To
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yes, I
they
didn't
did
watch
it.
it. So
They perfected it. It was just a bunch of mooks who jackassed around on a beach and became famous for it.
It was like a giant beach bully to keep everyone out of Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I think I finally figured out what I should have been doing. What my calling was this whole time is I could be a professional, the guy that gets picked on by the
Yes. We could have a whole routine.
We'll just throw sand in your face at the start of every episode.
at that point, I think at that point you're just like doing improv everywhere.
Yeah.
Just it's not exactly like it's just a show.
I think we could probably get Chad Weaver in on that bit
Oh, he'd
in,
be
in
perfect
a
for
drop
it.
of a hat.
Mm-hmm.
I my last note on this. I mean,
Pancakes.
it all winds up at the same place.
One of my favorite Fry moments.
But do you think that underneath it all, Zap is actually completely aware of it and he's just a sociopath?
Absolutely not.
No.
No,
I know you're opposing
I
that.
think he has no awareness at all.
Just like a
No, he is-
completely.
He's just a buffoon. He's the biggest
He-
buffoon in the universe.
He's like my one cat that is just so dumb that doesn't understand
If we could
what
get
is
through
going
one
on.
podcast without you bringing up your cat, Tom.
I think we've gone through like
Cat time.
13 or 14 without bringing
Yeah,
up his
that was the
cat.
first time no one knew I had cats.
I mean, we might have mentioned the ones around here. They just won't die.
Can you back edit stuff about your cats into the other episodes?
Just where we're talking, and all of a sudden it's just where a cat comes up. We're gonna eventually put out a 3D episode. I can't wait. 3D podcast.
Hey, that 3D sound is actually in.
You can hear that
incredible.
back there.
Amazing.
Have you ever done the thing where it's like
No, I
a
don't-
haircut?
Yeah.
And you listen to it in the headphones, and it sounds like
What?
someone's
No.
Is that like
This
an
is all-
ASMR?
I'm hearing about this for the first
Yeah,
time.
There's sound artists that can make these 3D experiences that are insane. I saw one at MoMA a couple years ago, and it was what was happening on the screen, but then also there was simulating things happening in the theater around you.
Really?
It was terrifying. I loved it. And if they want to make scary movies incredibly scary, it's going to happen when they start saying, bring your 3D headphones to the theater if you want to have like another level of.
Oh yeah.
So like the
when you did
Tingler.
that, were you wearing headphones or was it?
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the speakers?
it's got to be headphones. Or else
How?
it
I
doesn't
mean,
work.
yes, yeah. You have to have it all encompassed because
Yeah,
then you
it's
can
like a
feel
special
the
headphones.
actual where everything's going. When you're out, you have the room
Because
and everything, but
within the headphones, there's so many different speakers
Mm-hmm.
within it that you'll hear things with depth, and it's crazy. It's crazy how good
this
they
is
are.
So it's
the
like
first time I heard
D-Shock
about that. That
chairs
sounds awesome. Why don't I
times
try that
like
out?
Yeah.
a million.
later I'll send you and show you the haircut one. Back to you, Jorge. Talking about the pancakes thing. Hands down, one of the best Fry, like just lines.
Yeah, just it's a
random
great Fry
lines
moment,
is
you know.
talking about how excited he would be after he does whatever he's gonna do with the neutrals and then eating pancakes.
and he's just like miming it, like.
He's
And I love that the episode ties back up with the attack on the neutral planet.
yeah. So did they come back to that? I mean, is that an ongoing thread throughout the series? Or is this sort of
that
the
race
one-off?
shows up a couple times, just
Yeah.
like a lot of
Yeah.
the ones.
All the
which actually, you
aliens-
know what's weird? There's it's the world building of introducing the new aliens, and then you see them kind of like the jury. There's there's a guy from here, and there's somebody from there. I thought it was really weird, and it like threw me off that the Amazonian was in this episode, but then we don't actually see that planet until later. We haven't gotten to that episode
It's like
yet, which
3 or 4.
yeah,
I
which
think,
is
like,
which is
season 3 or 4.
you know,
Yeah.
which might you know what I can almost picture that being one of those like, you know, somebody wrote this joke. Oh, what if there was this giant Amazonian, whatever, and then like some time passes, and they're like, what if they went to a planet of that, you know? And,
Right, and I
it's one of
imagine
the
it's-
best fucking episodes of the series.
And when I imagine how it went down is as they were writing that episode, it was a double date with Kif and Leela, and Amy and Zap, and they're looking for something to move the
yeah, that
so they're like, what about
dramatic?
Yeah.
What's the word? When two things have
Tension?
problem- yeah.
Comedic
Conflict?
something like that?
Wait, what did you say? What was it?
Conflict.
Yeah, conflict. That's it.
sitcom trope.
Yeah, I have 3 words in my Trump bag vocabulary: bad, good, and snoo.
I had snoo.
That's
I'm
that's beautiful.
caroused. Why did Fry, Leela, and Bender? Why were they surprised that Zap Brannigan was going to crash the Planet Express ship into the neutral planet when the last time he recruited everyone, he said every mission is a suicide mission?
I think Leela was very aware because when they run to Leela for help, she's like, "So he's gonna kill
She
us."
had-
And
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She asked, what was there was 2 questions.
was
She's-
2 questions
before
before,
that.
yeah.
She's like,
Did you run out of beer?
oh yeah, that was one. Fuck, I can't remember. But yeah, that it ends.
Yeah.
With that, and, yeah.
And I like also
so he's
that
gonna kill us.
Yeah.
she had to do the laundry in the
Oh, the
brig.
laundry brig. Yeah, take her to the brig. We don't have a brig. We'll take her to the laundry room, which will henceforth be known as the brig.
Oh, she just accepts it. Do you think she accepts the abuse because she knows that it's just like, fine, I'm gonna go take a nap and I'll sort
Yeah,
this
yeah,
nonsense
I-
out later.
I think she accepts it for, like, she knows that she's kind of the hero in the situation. So, like
Yeah.
you said, she knows that it will come to her at some point. But she also, I think this is like her family, and like this is the first time that when she was working before she met Fry and ended up being the Planet Express captain, she had an incredibly lonely existence. So, as much as it hurt her feelings, she is kind of excited about like being able to forgive people that she cares about,
So
and then
she's-
also
And it-
show that she's really important to them.
And it's kind of like her general existence now is like being this really good ship captain leader person, but not getting appreciated, and then later getting appreciated. But then even when it's over, like there's no reward. You know what I mean? But she knows that she's in that.
she's
you know.
stands
Not
in
dying's a pretty good reward.
She stands in the background to just walk up and say, "I told you so."
Yeah.
That's really who- that's
and
her
she definitely
character.
enjoys that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes over about as well as when I say it around here. I don't mean with you guys. I mean like in my home in general with
Well,
my
you
family.
can't do that. You're not
Oh,
the
I-
Leela of the family.
I'm at. Oh, we've been over this.
I know.
Is
Was
your
my-
wife
was
and
my wife
daughter
talking to you
just
again?
Leela? You didn't. So it. Bender, the Jack. When he.
Oh, putting the
Oh, yeah,
dark
yeah.
matter into the left engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you want to say something stupid about that and annoy
No, it seems,
annoy the
that
audience?
seems mechanically feasible.
Really, that's the thing. I wrote down Bender Jack in parentheses. Fucking punch Pete in the face, and this is the one thing that you.
No, he's a bending robot. I would assume that his arms and legs have some kind of tensile strength and ratcheting action. By design, that seems like it would be important for a bending robot, so it made perfect sense to me.
There isn't a thing that Bender does. Would you say this was the 12th, 14th episode, 15th, something like that?
This is the 15th episode
Yeah,
overall.
Besides talking, that Pete hasn't had a problem with.
No, that's
And-
that's not true. I have a problem with inconsistency, and then I get yelled at for saying I hate
In
stories.
this delightfully humorous cartoon
Right.
where crazy
I
things
just like-
happen
I
1,000
just
years
like
into the
the
future.
consistency.
But you also understand one of the first things that Bender does on the show is put his arms back on, and Fry
We
calls
talked about that at
attention
great
Okay.
to-
length. Yes.
Yes.
Because
The
it's
fact that-
hilarious for
yes,
the joke.
yes.
The joke is great.
I want to hear what Pete has to say about
But in I don't remember if it was the last episode, the episode where they go subterranean with the mutants to find Nibbler, he is unable to put his arms and legs
It was John
back
Lovitz.
on
That was our guest that day.
after taking them off to flush himself down the toilet. And that's where I get bothered by it. I thought it was funny in the first one, but then when it
But he
can't,
was able to flush his entire body down the toilet.
I know,
Which doesn't
And
make
then
sense, but
and then when he gets down the
great.
toilet,
he can't put himself back together.
Because he didn't have the manual.
because he didn't have the
But
manual.
he didn't need the manual in the Hall of Criminals.
He might have
'cause he didn't
had
have
it.
his
He
legs
might have
off.
had it.
Maybe he had it.
And this is why
he
these
didn't have the
episodes.
legs off. That's the thing.
Yeah, and the legs weren't off.
The
Yeah,
legs
that's
weren't
right.
off in that situation. So obviously the arms were going.
This is
those
why
holes.
the episodes usually end in fisticuffs, or at least internet fisticuffs, which is just people yelling at me on Twitter and
Hashtag
whatever.
old man Pete.
So we very much appreciate you being on the show, Bill. This is really nice of you to come
Wait,
down.
wait. I have one more question.
Oh, God damn it,
Tom has
Archie.
8 more questions. Go ahead.
No, I want to
And
know what
there's,
you...
we're not done with this episode.
No,
yet.
yeah, exactly.
Well, there's
much
the
more
thing.
that happened.
How dare you question me? God damn it!
Stop yelling at me. These headphones are loud. I feel like this show. It's an animated series, but
Hey.
but it's in prime time, and they do it. Yeah.
Let's finish going through this episode, and then you can answer
Oh, I thought we
the
were done.
question.
Oh, I thought we
no,
got
no,
there.
there's-
Shit.
more
That's what you meant
to
by
it.
it.
Go
Oh,
back
okay.
to court.
I didn't know we were having a platonic discussion tonight.
You know what?
Archie.
Pete's right. We're done.
We...
Right.
No, I mean...
Yeah. No, we have to go back to the trial and everything. Yeah.
We talk
It's all
about, going in, putting all the dark matter in the left engine, and then they
The day is
survive.
saved.
Mm-hmm.
And then Leela just doesn't want to deal with Zap anymore.
So she gets him reinstated by lying and perjuring herself.
I feel like that end court scene should have been drawn out longer. I think they should have gone through... I think it would have been funny to go through the entire story of what had happened, just like they did before. But I think they probably, time-wise, I don't know.
Time-wise, and I think that's why Leela testifies, just to wrap it up in that way, and just says everything that didn't make sense, all that stuff gets thrown in together just to get Zap, to get a resolution in the
And
episode.
just clean it up.
Yeah. She's like, you know what? As dangerous as it is to have him as a man that has military power,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will sacrifice whatever people he kills just so I can have my ship back and have him not
so
be
she
around.
can be captain.
Yeah.
And just not have him around. Yeah, it's just the worst.
Yeah.
Well, that's something we haven't touched on was how excited the professor was to bring him on the staff. He's just like, oh, it's a celebrity.
Oh,
This,
yeah, I
this is
love
going to be
that. Yeah,
great
yeah.
for us.
But he's disgraced, so he's going to get him for
dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And it will take everyone's eyes off the safety issues that Planet Express has. I think he said.
Total distraction, to any... It's basically... I don't know how football savvy you guys are, but he's basically Jimmy Haslam getting RG3 hey, look, we got a superstar quarterback. But he's not any good anymore. Superstar quarterback. Isn't this exciting, all Browns fans? Go buy some tickets.
To be fair, he had some neat moves so far in the preseason. Not that every game hasn't been a disaster. I mean, I don't care about the preseason.
Are you
It's
talking
just-
about that spinning kick and that fireball
when he did the
threw?
Chun-Li when he turned upside down and spun down that? Yeah.
Hadouken.
Look who fell for it.
Did he bring a spider with him or something to ride out onto the field? I know nothing about it, but I
Seventh inning spider.
I consume local media, so I've seen names like Haslam and RG3.
All right. So, and I'll always fall for it, but there have been a couple of fun moments between him and Josh Gordon where I'm like, oh, I can't wait for all 16 of these games where 3% of it are those moments, and I go, yeah, I'm totally alive again.
Oh, that's
for,
a Browns
you
fan
know,
in general.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's Josh
You
Gordon's
guys
best
are the
season
Kiffs
was with
of professional football.
Which won't start until I think the 6th game. He's out for the first 5, right?
he's out for the first 4. Gordon
okay,
is,
yeah.
But I mean, cheering for Brandon Weeden throwing Josh Gordon the ball is something you never thought you'd do.
Yeah.
But because you're a Browns fan, you're like, this is all we got.
Yeah.
And as far as Browns fans go, we make a lot of the same noises Kiff makes.
Yeah, that's why I'm okay with this now, because now that I've made the connection where it's like the Browns are kind of Brannigan-y and Cleveland fans are definitely Kiff. It's just if they're doing good, that's great. But when everything goes to hell, all they can talk about is how bad they're doing and how much they just can't give up. And
Codependent, yeah.
exactly. It's like a superpower I have in Cleveland where
Sorry,
I don't care.
I've been brushing all this championship dandruff off of my shoulders.
Every
the last few months, and I
Sunday
just
in the
can't.
fall, like I can just see everyone's moods take a shit on like social media, and I'm just like,
I don't
this
let that
is-
happen anymore. Like I don't go to games, and I don't like I'll watch them at home, but I let my moods be destroyed by the gambling that I do. And I don't gamble on the Browns because that's stupid.
It's much more like a solid, like tactile thing that you can go like,
Right,
oh,
yeah.
this is, yeah.
Because then sometimes I get to have good weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh look, I made money.
Yeah.
the luck of the draw.
Actually, that's good. Like that's a great analogy. My question was going to be, and I don't have an answer for this one. Maybe one of the three of you does. I think one of the things that separates Futurama from just a lot of like animated primetime shows where, hey, here's a joke, hey, here's a funny episode, whatever, is that Futurama or coming out of that, there's going to be that classic sitcom, like here's the story. The story's pretty simple, but at the end, not every episode is going to be Jurassic Park or the Bee one or whatever. But there's always going
This
to
was
be
number
that, like,
6 on IGN's best Futurama.
this one. You know what? Great episode. That's respectable.
Like we said, you specifically asked for this episode. What is your favorite
that's
episode?
even a better.
Bill?
No. But that's even a better. What's the do you feel like there's what do you think the point of this episode is? Like as far as
All right.
all right. Okay. All right.
To entertain the people watching it.
No, but that's the thing. There's a lot of
Unlike
there's
this
a lot of shows.
podcast.
There's a lot of shows to do that.
No, I think the point of this, or the reason
You
I
could
like
just say
this episode-
friendship. You
yeah.
could just say friendship.
I think the reason this episode is so good and is so fun to watch, has so many funny parts, has there's a rift between the story arc in this episode is great because it there's all these different moving parts. Every person that's a main, like a featured character in this episode, their part's important.
Oh yeah.
So you're using all your characters in a very, very efficient way without having to have a B story.
Yeah.
Really, it's just you get to see
Mechanically,
Leela.
it's one of the best episodes
you get to
for
see
sure.
Yeah.
you get to see Leela grow as a starship captain. You get to see Fry and Bender doing what they do best, which is like being friends and just jackassing around. You get to see Brannigan just be awful and hilarious, and you see why Kiff sticks around.
Yeah,
And I think,
that was an interesting insight.
and you get just enough Professor where he is hilarious and just as cold, but he's just as cold as Zap, but he's a genius.
Yeah.
So it's not at that lower level. It's just he's like, I'm looking at it for the bottom line here. I just want to make as little money. I want to make as much money as I can because this isn't really that great of a business.
Were Zoidberg and Amy the only people not in this
Yeah.
episode?
There are no Zoidberg
Yeah.
in this episode.
But other than
or
that,
Amy.
you get
But that was the
Hermes
thing, it
is
was
there.
so packed full of like all the characters having a lot to do, or even Hermes and the Professor like showing up a lot and just having like.
And
then
I
all
didn't
the,
even think about that, but the fact that I didn't analyze it to the point where it's like there is no B story. It is all one. Like
I
everybody
didn't think about
is,
that either. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
is in one thing, and that's very different. I think for these episodes, like I think up to this point, there hasn't been one that wasn't sort of segmented out like
No,
that.
and this is one of those episodes too where like the acts of the entire episode happened so quickly, and it's like
oh yeah, it was
one
bam, bam,
thing
bam,
that
bam.
there's
Oh, yeah.
no
Yeah.
there. I guess that's where
Well,
the difference
I
is. Where
didn't
there's no
have-
B story where
Well,
that's
it's because it's Brannigan's swan song where he loses his job,
Yep.
gets a new job, gets his old job back, and
He
he's
gets
redeemed.
his rock and roll
Yeah,
documentary.
Yeah, he gets his redemption. He gets his exactly. He gets his back on top moment.
I didn't have one when I asked the question. I was watching it, trying to think of it, and some of them just really don't have one. This one probably doesn't have one either. But I kind of like maybe the meaning behind this one is do the wrong thing and just kind of like in that episode, like a few episodes ago where Bender was like, when he had the emotion chip in him, and he's like, sometimes you have to just want things and be an asshole to like get what you want or whatever. Like maybe there was a little bit of that.
I think with Leela, it's like she had to let go of control a little bit because she was kind of a control freak, and so not really fighting the mutiny and just kind of waiting for her moment to show them like, hey, this is why I ask you to do things and make you actually do work. Is
Like
because
I
I'm
knew-
not going
I
to
knew
kill
you'd
you.
need me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
And then-
I may be a little bit stricter of a captain, but I will not let you die.
Yeah.
Right. And then also having Kif as like somebody that's like completely loyal to her and like talking about all this stuff. I think that made her appreciate Bender and Fry more being who they are. Because at the end, when they're cleaning the spaceship and they ask for a week off or whatever, and she allows it because she feels bad. But then the professor
said no.
I
doesn't want it.
really hope the lesson wasn't that if you just keep being Zap Brannigan, eventually enough people will do things to get you away from them that eventually you'll become president of the United States of America.
Yes.
And I'm going to end this podcast like that episode ended, and I want a mutiny.
We'll get
Well,
there.
who's the captain?
I don't know. I thought you are.
Look at me. I'm the captain.
You're just gonna cut us loose like that? We'll just be floating off into the ether. It'll be scary. So we'll try this again. Thanks so much for coming on, Bill. It was great to have you.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
thanks a lot. That
And
was
I
a
would
fun
love to.
episode.
I would love to come back for a future episode. And I'm gonna say right now, Planet Amazonia.
Okay.
I want that
All
one.
right, we have a spreadsheet.
All right.
We'll get you in
do
there.
Put me in there.
Even though this won't be out for a few weeks, do you have anything you want to let people know to look
Yeah,
for you on? or-
non-time sensitive plugs.
Yeah,
So how many weeks will this be?
like 4 or 5 weeks, something like that.
I'll be at the Funny Stop in Cuyahoga Falls, October 22nd and 23rd. Would that work?
I think
Yeah,
this
this will be
might
out by
slip
then.
in under that, so that's a
There
good
you
one. You're on WMS daily weekdays.
Weekdays 3 to 7 on the Alan Cox Show.
And
I
If
do-
you're one of the 20 people in Cleveland listening to this podcast, check that out that you haven't already
No,
heard
you
of.
can listen
because
to
of-
us all
It's that
over
button
the
on your
country.
radio
Yeah.
after you pull your phone
Yeah.
out. And
You can listen to us because our podcast goes on iTunes and
Oh, yeah?
Spreaker and
Perfect.
like
Oh,
everything.
awesome.
So,
All right.
so if you want to, radio
What,
show that
if you were
listen
trying to
on
search
daily,
for that, what would you just?
the Alan Cox Show.
Okay.
And you can find it there. And then I do another podcast with my friend and his grandma called Gabbing with Grandma, and we just did our first episode with a
Oh,
live audience, which
Dude,
is
I
awesome.
was listening to you talk about that. I don't know, like a few weeks ago. I don't
Yeah.
know if it was the first time you brought it up. No, it wasn't, because you were.
No, but it's a lot of
It
fun.
had been established by then. You
what
were,
is
you
that?
were talking about it.
What is that?
What we do on that one is just my friend is a comedian. His name's Cody, and his grandma
Cody Cooper?
Cody Cooper, and he lives with his grandma. So basically, we just go and bullshit with her for an hour or so, and talk to her about things that are happening. She's a huge Cavs fan, so just like her ups and downs through that whole
Oh, yeah.
playoff
Yeah.
series was amazing, and she can't really hold back if you hit the right buttons with her, and we kind of know the right buttons. So like,
Yeah, I
like
like
one of the
that.
things, like she hates Anthony Bourdain, and anyone that eats anything that's not like a regular like piece of chicken and potatoes. So we kind of go on that, and then
So Anthony Zimmerman is out of the question.
I don't even think she's aware of Andrew Zimmerman. Like, she would lose her mind if she watched that show. So things like that, and then we'll talk about some social issues. And she's actually a pretty progressive woman for someone. Like she was, like because she's feels so strong about animals. Like when the NRA was trying to really like wedge their way in, like as a political. And not just like a, like, hey, here's rifle safety, like as like a political entity, she was so against it just because she didn't like the way that they were handling like hunting around here,
Yeah.
like tearing down signs and like just really messing with the man per se. To say, oh, I unplugged this. Yeah, it's back. It's back. All right, so yeah, it's a lot of fun. We just did a live episode a few weeks ago at the Accidental Comedy Fest with an audience, and it's one of the funniest things that we've ever done.
We're
Awesome.
talking about doing a live podcast of this, but it's we'll talk about that later. But that sounds scary.
Yeah, maybe our listeners could suggest what they'd like to see in a live podcast by calling our phone number,
Which is 216-438-1077.
or reaching out on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram at slurmcastpod. And we can,
also,
Or you
Guys-
could just show up at Tom's house. His address is bleep.
Guys, now we own www.slurmcast.com.
awesome.
Nice. And how did you get that phone number with the 1077 in it?
Google Voice.
And you were able to request the last four
I-
digits? Or is it just by-
when you sign up, you're allowed to use like your cell phone or whatever, or you can request a new number, and then you can put in like an area code, and then you can put in any numbers, words, or whatever, and it will find whatever's available. First thing I thought of was 1077, and I got a 216-438-1077 number, and I kept it, and
That's
I
awesome.
can't get another 1077 number. I downloaded did another email for Slurmcast to like have an extra Google Drive, and I tried to do another number.
Yeah,
None
magic.
of them
Got
are,
it.
Yeah.
None of them are back. Yes.
And you're on Twitter and such too,
iFloaty?
Bill?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram at Bill Squire, Facebook, just search Bill Squire, and then on Snapchat at Hugo Butt.
And for those of you listeners that are not in Cleveland, Bill is a really great stand-up comedian. So definitely check his stuff out. It's really funny.
And you can watch or listen to the Alan Cox show.
Well, yeah,
You're
he.
not-
I
he
mean,
was
he
just
said
saying
that,
it,
but
yeah.
I mean, aside from those other sort of,
Yeah,
Well,
he's like sort of.
yeah, just he does all right.
Don't forget to neuter and spay your pets.
I already stopped the recording.